Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating stack of sources today, all about Indian geography.
Yeah, it looks great.
From those huge northern mountains down to the ancient southern plateaus, it's quite a journey we're taking, our mission, to pull out the absolute key nuggets for you.
Exactly. We're aiming to give you a, clear, well-informed picture of India's incredibly diverse geography. What's really compelling, I think, is just how much richness we can actually unpack in a single deep dive like this.
Okay, so let's start big picture.
Yeah.
Where exactly is India on the world map? What do the sources tell us about its continental spot, and, well, why does that matter?
Right. So if you look at a globe, India is solidly in the northeastern hemisphere.
Okay.
And that placement, especially its southern part being closer to the equator, really shapes its tropical climate zones. And then, bigger picture, it's a key part of Asia, specifically South Asia.
South Asia, got it.
Yeah, Asia's massive, obviously. So
Yeah.
we usually break it down West Asia, East, Southeast, Central, and India really anchors that southern part.
That definitely puts it in context. Now, what about the term Indian subcontinent? I hear that a lot. Is that just another name for South Asia, or is it something more?
It's definitely more distinct. The sources really highlight the Indian subcontinent as like a separate geological and geographical thing within Asia.
Ah,
Think of it as this huge, distinct landmass. It's connected to Asia, sure, but its formation, its features, they set it apart.
interesting. Okay, let's zoom in a bit then. India's extreme points, the furthest north, south, east, west, they must say a lot about how vast it is. Can you walk us through those?
Absolutely. These points really drive home the sheer scale.
Yeah.
So the absolute southernmost point, if you count the islands, is Indira Point.
Near a point.
Yeah, it's way down on Great Nicobar Island. Super close to the equator, which highlights India's tropical reach and its, big maritime presence in the Indian Ocean.
And on the mainland itself.
On the mainland, the tip is Kanyakumari. Really iconic spot where three seas actually meet.
Right, and then stretching east and west.
Okay, way out west, the furthest point is Guarmoti. That's in the Kutch district of Gujarat.
Yeah.
A really arid desert kind of region defining that western edge.
Hmm.
Then you swing all the way across the country to the east. The first rays of sun hit India at Kevathu in Arunachal Pradesh, deep in the eastern Himalayas.
Wow, quite the contrast. And finally, the northernmost point.
And then way up north, high in the Ladakh region, you've got Indira Col. We're talking extreme altitude, extreme climate.
Yeah.
Really strategic area too. So these points, they're not just dots on a map. They show the incredible reach and, well, the diversity packed into India.
That really paints a powerful picture of the scale. Okay, now let's imagine we're peeling back the layers. What kind of landscapes are we finding? Let's move from just where India is to its actual physical makeup.
Yeah, the physical diversity is just astounding. It's almost like a mini continent packed into one country.
Yeah.
The sources generally break it down into 5 main physical divisions.
Hi,
You got the massive northern mountains dominated by the Himalayas, obviously.
Yeah.
Just south of those, the huge, fertile Great Northern Plains. Then, the ancient core of the country, the Peninsular Plateau.
The old heartland.
Exactly. Then wrapping around the edges, you have the coastal plains. And finally, scattered in the seas around it, the Indian Islands.
Yeah.
Plus you've got the desert region too.
Let's talk about those northern mountains first. The Himalayas' youngest and highest range in the world, they say. Here's where it gets really interesting. How did these giants actually form, these new folded mountains?
It's a pretty epic geological story. Took millions of years. Basically, the Himalayas were born from sediments laid down in an ancient sea called the Tethys Sea, or Tethys Geosyncline.
Tethys Sea.
Yeah, imagine this vast ancient ocean basin just filling up with sediment over ages and ages. Then you have these 2 massive tectonic plates, the Indian plate moving north and the Eurasian plate,
Okay.
and they started to collide.
Wow.
Slowly, but with incredible force. This massive continental crunch basically squeezed and folded all that sediment upwards. That's what created the peaks we see today.
Like crumpling a piece of paper.
Sort of, yeah, but on a colossal scale. And what's really interesting is because both plates were continental crust, not oceanic,
Mm.
you don't really find volcanoes in the main Himalayan range.
That makes sense. 2 continents hitting each other. So this range is enormous. How do geographers break it down? What are the main structural parts?
Good question. Structurally, we usually think of it in 3 main belts, kind of running parallel. Furthest north is the Trans-Himalaya.
Trans-Himalaya.
Yeah, this zone has some of the highest, most rugged peaks, like K2, also called Godwin-Austen. It's in the Karakoram range. India's highest peak, world's second highest.
Wow.
You also find the Pamir Knot, up there, a complex area where multiple big mountain ranges sort of converge. They call it the roof of the world.
Okay. And moving south from the Trans-Himalaya.
Next up is the main or middle Himalayas, also called the Lesser Himalayas. These are south of those highest ranges. Here you get ranges people might know better. The Pir Panjal in Kashmir, the Dalatar in Himachal Pradesh, Mussoorie, and Nagtiba in Uttarakhand, famous for stunning valleys, hill stations, that kind of thing.
Okay, familiar names there. And then the eastern and northeastern bits.
Right. Those are often grouped as the Eastern Himalayas or Provincial Hills.
Yeah.
What's really distinct here are these sharp southward turns the Himalayas take. They call them syntaxial bends.
Syntaxial bends.
Yeah, like hairpin turns. One big one is in Arunachal Pradesh, another near the Indus River. These bends basically funnel the mountains southwards. So in this region, you get hills like the Naga Hills, Manipur Hills, Mizo Hills, a really complex hilly terrain. Now, here's a really crucial point the sources make. You know the Garo Khasi and Jaintia Hills in Meghalaya?
Yes, famous for rain.
Exactly. Well, despite being in the east, geologically, they are not part of the Himalayan system.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're actually an extension of the much older peninsular plateau, just separated by a gap. It's an important distinction.
That is important. Okay, so we have structural divisions, but the sources also mention regional divisions based on river valleys. How does that work?
Right. This is another way to slice it, often credited to G.S. Bard. It uses the big river valleys, Indus, Sutlej, Kali, Teesta, Dihang Brahmaputra, as natural dividers. Gives us 4 main sections.
Okay, what are they?
First, the Punjab Himalaya between the Indus and Sutlej rivers. Covers Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, famous for the Kashmir Valley, lots of important passes.
This makes sense. Next.
Moving east between the Sutlej and Kali rivers, you get the Kuman Himalaya, mostly in Uttarakhand. This region has big peaks like Nanda Devi, and it's where glaciers like Gangotri and Yamunotri, the sources of Ganga and Yamuna, are found.
Ah, the sources of the great rivers, and further east still.
Then comes the Nepal Himalaya, between the Kali and Teesta rivers. This is probably the most famous bit globally. Why? Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga. The absolute highest peaks are here. It's maybe narrower than other sections, but the altitude is just immense.
The giants live there. And the last one.
Lastly, the Assam Himalaya, between the Teesta and the Dihang, which is another name for the Brahmaputra River there, covers the eastern end. Includes peaks like Namcha Barwa. It's actually the narrowest section of the whole Himalayan range.
Okay, wow. That gives a great sense of the Himalayas. Let's shift down now to the plains just south of them, the Great Northern Plains. Seems like a totally different world after those mountains. How did these huge, flat, fertile areas even form?
They really are a stark contrast. And their formation is totally tied to the Himalayas we just talked about. Basically, the Great Northern Plains were built up over millions of years by, well, dirt.
Dirt.
Well, sediment, technically. Imagine those massive Himalayan rivers, the Indus, the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, and all their tributaries, constantly grinding down the mountains and carrying just enormous amounts of silt, sand, and clay downstream. Year after year, flood after flood, this material got deposited layer upon layer, filling up a vast depression south of the mountains. That built up this incredibly flat, deep, and super fertile land. That's why it's one of the most productive farming regions on the planet.
Right, the breadbasket, essentially. So are there different zones within these plains? What are their characteristics?
Yeah, there are distinct belts as you move south from the mountains. Right at the foot of the Shivaliks, the last Himalayan range, you hit the Kambar.
Kambar.
It's this narrow strip, maybe 16 kilometers wide, full of pebbles and gravel washed down from the mountains. It's so porous that smaller streams actually disappear underground here.
They'd vanish.
Yeah, flow underneath the pebbles. But then, just south of the Kambar, they reappear in the Terai region.
Ah, the Terai.
Right. This is a much wetter, marshier zone. Historically, it was dense forest, swampy, lots of wildlife, high humidity, mosquitoes, the works. But much of it has now been cleared for farming, especially water-loving crops like rice, sugarcane, and jute.
Okay, so disappearing rivers, marshy lands. What about the main fertile soils people talk about?
Right, those are the alluvial soils further south. We differentiate between Bangar and Kedar.
Bangar and Kedar?
Bangar is the older alluvium. It's found a bit further away from the current river channels, usually on slightly higher ground like terraces. It's fertile, but generally less so than Kedar because it doesn't get renewed by floods every year. It can also have these salty deposits in places.
Okay, older soil. And Kedar.
Kedar is the new stuff. It's the younger alluvium found right in the floodplains near the riverbanks. Every year, when the rivers flood, they deposit a fresh layer of silt. This makes Kedar soil incredibly fertile, ideal for intensive farming.
That's the sweet spot for agriculture, then.
Absolutely. This constant renewal is why states like Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, they're agricultural powerhouses. The soil's naturally rich in things like potash and lime, though often needs nitrogen added for best results. Got it. Okay, let's pivot now to the south and center, the Peninsular Plateau. Sounds ancient. What exactly do peninsula and plateau mean here, and why is this area so significant?
Right, it is ancient. So a peninsula, pretty straightforward, is just land surrounded by water on three sides. India's southern part fits that perfectly.
Yeah.
Arabian Sea west, Bay of Bengal east, Indian Ocean south.
Simple enough? And plateau.
A plateau is basically an elevated area of fairly level land, like a tabletop, but huge. The Peninsular Plateau is exactly that, an old, stable block of the Earth's crust, made of really hard, ancient rocks. Very different from the young, folded Himalayas or the soft plains. It's like the geological anchor of India.
An anchor, I like that. So what defines its edges? What are its boundaries?
It's a massive area covering most of central and southern India. Broadly speaking, its northwestern edge is marked by the Aravalli Range.
The Air Valleys.
Yeah, ancient mountains themselves. To the west, you have the Gir Hills in Gujarat. Down south, the Cardamom Hills form the boundary. And in the northeast, it extends up to the Rajmahal Hills and, importantly, the Meghalaya Plateau. Ah, the Meghalaya Plateau again. You mentioned a gap.
Exactly. The Malda Gap,
Yeah.
it's this geological depression, like a sunken area, that separates the main peninsular plateau from the Meghalaya Plateau. Over time, the Ganga and Brahmaputra rivers have filled this gap with their sediments, but geologically, Meghalaya is part of that older plateau system.
Fascinating connection. Okay, this plateau is huge. Can we break it down? What are some key ranges or smaller plateaus within it? I bet there's a lot of variety there.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of variety. Let's start with the Aravalli Range again. As I mentioned, super old, considered the world's oldest fold mountains, even though they're heavily eroded now. Highest peak is Guru Shikhar near Mount Abu.
Oldest folds. Wow.
Then running across central India, you have the Vindhya Range. It kind of acts as a traditional divider between North and South India. It's not super high, but important. Known for things like sandstone, marble, even diamonds in the Panna region of MP.
Diamonds. Okay. And south of the Vindhyas.
South of the Narmada River Valley, which separates them, you find the Satpura Range. These are different. They're block mountains.
Block mountains. How are they different from fold mountains like the Himalayas?
Right, so fold mountains form from squeezing and crumpling, like the Himalayas. Block mountains form when large chunks of the Earth's crust are lifted up or drop down along fault lines, big cracks, so you often get steepy sides. The Satpura's highest peak is Dhupgar. The range also includes the Maikal Hills, where Amarkantak is the source of the Narmada and Sun rivers.
Ah, important river sources there too. What about the plateaus themselves, like Malwa?
The Malwa Plateau lies north of the Vindhyas, sort of northwest central India. It was formed by ancient volcanic eruptions, lava flows. This means it has characteristic dark basaltic rock and fertile black soil.
Black soil. Cotton country.
Exactly. Great for cotton, also soybean, wheat. Interestingly, the Chinese traveler Fai Hien visited centuries ago and supposedly called its climate the best in the world. Rivers like the Chambal flow through here.
High praise. And the Chota Nagpur Plateau? I've heard that called the Ruhr of India.
Yes, the Chota Nagpur Plateau in eastern India, mainly Arcand, but spilling into nearby states. It gets that nickname because it's incredibly rich in minerals. Coal, iron ore, manganese, mica, you name it. It's the mineral heartland. The Damodar River flows through it, dividing it into the Hazaribagh Plateau north and Ranchi Plateau south. Highest point is Parsnath Hill.
Mineral heartland. Makes sense. Any other key plateau areas?
There's the Dandakaranya Plateau, further south and east, covering parts of Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh. Includes the Basta region, which is known for being India's only source of tin. The Indravati River flows through here.
Only tin source, noted. And then the big one, the Deccan Plateau.
Right. The Deccan Plateau is the massive triangular chunk that makes up most of southern India, south of the Satpuras. It's not uniform, though. The northwestern part is called the Deccan Trap, or Maharashtra Plateau.
Trap.
Yeah, trap comes from a Swedish word for stairs, referring to the step-like landscape formed by successive layers of ancient basaltic lava flows. This is where you find vast areas of that black cotton soil we talked about.
Ugh, more cotton land.
And south of that,
South of the Deccan Trap, you get into the Karnataka Plateau. This area is geologically fascinating. It has some of the oldest rocks on Earth, Archean rocks, and also Darwar rocks, which were among the first sedimentary rocks formed, and they are super rich in metallic minerals, iron ore, like from Kadruma,
Oh, yeah.
manganese, copper, even gold, like the Kolar gold fields.
Wow. A real treasure chest geologically.
It really is. Agriculturally, it's known for coffee, especially in Chikmagalur, also sugarcane. Rivers like the Kaveri and Tungapadra flow through here, and the Sharvati River, which creates the famous Jog Falls.
Okay, that covers the massive interior. Now let's look at the edges again, the coastal plains. How do the western and eastern coasts differ? They seem quite distinct on the map.
They are very different, shaped by the mountains behind them and the seas in front. The western coastal plain running between the Western Ghats Mountains and the Arabian Sea is generally quite narrow.
Narrow, okay. And because the western Ghats are steep, the rivers flowing west are short and fast. They don't really build up big deltas. Instead, they form estuaries where the river mouth widens and meets the sea. This coast gets hammered by the monsoon, so very high rainfall. This leads to deeper water near the coast, creating excellent natural harbors like Mumbai, Kochi, Goa.
Good harbors on the west, so the east must be different.
Completely different character. The eastern coastal plain, between the eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal, is much wider and flatter.
Wider, right.
Here, the big peninsular rivers we discussed, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, have more time and space to slow down and deposit their sediment. So they form huge, fertile deltas, perfect for rice cultivation. This coast gets less rain overall than the west. It also has fewer good natural harbors, but it features large lagoons, like Chilika Lake in Odisha, India's largest, and Pulakat Lake on the Andhra Tamil Nadu border.
Deltas versus estuaries, narrow versus wide, makes sense. Okay, shifting offshore now. India's islands, little jewels scattered around. What's the story there?
Yeah, India has two main groups, plus some important individual islands. In the Arabian Sea, you have the Lakshadweep Islands.
Lakshadweep.
It's a group of about 36 islands, and they're primarily coral islands, built up over long periods by tiny marine organisms, coral polyps in warm, clear waters. Think beautiful white sand beaches, turquoise lagoons.
Paradise, basically. And the other big group in the Bay of Bengal.
That's the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, a much larger archipelago, around 572 islands, though many are tiny. Unlike Lakshadweep, these are volcanic in origin. They're actually the peaks of a submerged mountain range extending from Myanmar.
Volcanic, so different geology entirely.
Totally. The highest peak is Saddle Peak on North Andaman. And significantly, this group includes Barren Island, which is India's only active volcano.
An active volcano.
Yeah. The Andamans are also known for their dense forests and unique tribal populations, including some of the world's last uncontacted peoples, like the Sentinelese on North Sentinel Island, who remain isolated.
That's incredible. Are there other important islands not part of these main groups?
Yes, a few key offshore islands. Off the coast of Odisha, there's Wheeler Island, which was renamed APJ Abdul Kalam Island. It's strategically vital. It's where India's Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, conducts missile tests.
Ah, the missile testing range.
Exactly. Then off the Andhra Pradesh coast is Sriharikota Island. This is home to the Satish Dhawan Space Center, run by ISRO. It's India's main satellite launch site.
The spaceport.
Right. And finally, down south between India and Sri Lanka, there's Pamban Island, where the pilgrimage town of Rameswaram is located, connected to the mainland by a bridge. Each plays a unique role.
Okay, this is great. We've covered mountains, plains, plateaus, coasts, islands. This really raises a big question. How does all this incredibly varied terrain shape India's river systems, the lifeblood of the land?
It's the absolute fundamental influence. You can basically divide India's rivers into two broad categories, Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. And their character is totally different because of where they come from.
How so?
Well, many Himalayan rivers are what we call antecedent rivers,
Essie?
meaning they existed before the Himalayas rose up. As the mountains were slowly uplifted, these powerful rivers just kept cutting down, carving deep gorges right through the rising ranges. Think of the Indus, the Sutlej, the Brahmaputra. They're older than the mountains they flow through.
That's amazing. Older than the mountains.
Yeah. Whereas peninsular rivers are mostly consequent. They formed after the peninsular plateau existed and simply follow the slope of the land. This generally makes Himalayan rivers perennial fed by both rain and melting snow glaciers and mighty. Peninsular rivers tend to be more seasonal, dependent on monsoon rains, although some southern ones benefit from multiple monsoons.
Okay, let's tackle the Himalayan giants first then. The Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra, they're legendary.
They really are. Let's start with the Indus River system. The Indus itself originates way up in Tibet, near Mansarovar Lake, same neighborhood as the Sutlej and Brahmaputra sources, interestingly.
High altitude source.
Very. It enters India and Ladakh, flows through that region, and then heads into Pakistan. Its flow is partly governed by the Indus Waters Treaty from 1960 between India and Pakistan, a really important agreement about water sharing.
Right, water politics. What about its tributaries, the famous 5 rivers of Punjab?
Exactly, the Panchayat.
Right.
These are the main tributaries that join the Indus, mostly in Pakistan, but originating in or flowing through India. You have the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, the Beas. The Beas is unique because it rises and flows entirely within India, and the Sutlej, which also starts near Mansarovar.
The Panchayat, got it.
Yeah.
Now, the Brahmaputra also starts near Mansarovar.
Yep, the Brahmaputra River system also originates from a glacier near Mansarovar Lake, the Chemyungdung Glacier. It has this incredible journey and multiple names.
Multiple names.
Yeah. In Tibet, it's the Yarlom Sangpo, and it makes this dramatic turnaround Namcha Barwa Peak, carves a super deep gorge, and enters India in Arunachal Pradesh, where it's called the Dihing. Then, when it flows into the Assam Valley, it becomes the mighty Brahmaputra, famous for being very wide, sometimes braided, and forming Majuli Island, the world's largest riverine island.
Majuli, right.
And then when it enters Bangladesh, its name changes again to the Jamuna. Its key tributaries include rivers like the Lohit, Subansiri, Manas, and the Tista, which joins it in Bangladesh.
Sangpo, Dihang, Brahmaputra, Jamuna. Quite the identity crisis. Okay, and finally, the holiest of them all, for many, the Ganga River system. Where does it actually begin? Is it just one glacier?
Actually, no. The Ganga doesn't really have a single source. It's formed by the coming together of several rivers in the Garhwal Himalayas in Uttarakhand through a series of sacred confluences called the Panch Prayag 5 confluences.
Panch Prayag.
Two main head streams are the Bhagirathi, which comes from the Gomukh Glacier near Gangotri, often considered the traditional source, and the Alaknanda, which itself is formed by other rivers, joining at Vishnu Prayag and Anand Prayag.
So it's a combination.
Exactly. The Alaknanda then meets the Pindar River at Karn Prayag and the Mandakini River at Rudra Prayag. The final crucial confluence is Dev Prayag.
Dev Prayag.
That's where the Bhagirathi and the Alaknanda merge. And from that point onwards, the river is officially called the Ganga.
Ah, so Dev Prayag is the birthplace of the Ganga proper.
Precisely. It then flows down, enters the plains at Haridwar, and begins its long journey across North India.
And its main tributaries, it must gather a lot of water.
Oh, huge amounts. We usually divide them into left bank coming from the north and right bank coming from the south.
Okay, left bank first.
Left bank tributaries include the Ramganga, the Gumti, which is interesting because it starts in the plains, not the mountains. The Gagara, a very large tributary, includes the Saryu River of Ayodhya fame, the Gandak, and the Kosi.
The Kosi, Sorrow of Bihar, right?
That's the one. Known for its frequent and devastating floods due to the huge amount of silt it carries and its shifting course. The Mahananda is the last major left bank tributary in India.
And from the right bank, coming from the south.
The most important right bank tributary by far is the Yamuna, which originates from the Yamunotri Glacier and runs parallel to the Ganga for a long way before joining it at Prayagraj, Allahabad.
The Yamuna, huge river in its own right.
Absolutely. Another major one is the Sun, which starts way down south at Amarkantak near the Narmada source and flows north to join the Ganga near Patna.
Interesting. Coming all the way from the peninsula, what happens when the Ganga reaches Bangladesh?
Right, so near the border, the Ganga splits. One branch, the Hooghly, flows south through West Bengal. Kolkata is on its banks. The main branch enters Bangladesh, where its name changes to the Padma.
Padma. And the Brahmaputra was Jamuna there.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
Padma, Ganga, and the Jamuna, Brahmaputra, then merge. Their combined flow is still called the Padma for a while. Then they are joined by another large river, the Meghna.
So many rivers merging.
It's a massive confluence. The final combined river is called the Meghna, and it's this river that finally flows into the Bay of Bengal, forming the enormous Sundarbans Delta, the largest delta in the world, shared by India and Bangladesh.
Sundarbans Delta. Incredible. That's a fantastic overview of the Himalayan rivers. Now let's turn to the peninsular rivers. You said they were different, older, more seasonal. Which are the key ones?
Right. We can divide them mainly into west-flowing and east-flowing.
Okay. West-flowing first, the ones heading to the Arabian Sea.
Yes. These are generally shorter and swifter as they drop down the Western Ghats. They mostly form estuaries, not deltas. The biggest and most important is the Narmada.
Narmada. We mentioned its source at Amarkantak.
Correct. It flows westwards in a rift valley, a sunken block of land between the Vindhya and Satpura ranges. It's the longest west-flowing peninsular river, creates a big estuary near Bharuch in Gujarat.
Rift Valley flow. Interesting. Others flowing west.
The Tapi, or Tapti, is another major one, also flowing in a Rift Valley south of the Satpuras. Then there's the Mahi River, famous for crossing the Tropic of Cancer twice.
Twice.
Yeah. And the Sabarmati, which flows past Ahmedabad and Gantanagar in Gujarat. Further south, in Goa, the Mandovi is important, known for the Dudhsagar Falls. And in Karnataka, the Shiravathi, which creates those spectacular jog falls we mentioned.
Okay, so Narmada and Tapi are the big west-flowing ones, plus several others. Now the east-flowing rivers, heading to the Bay of Bengal.
These are generally longer, drain larger areas, and most form large deltas. Starting from the north, you have the Swarnareka, flowing from the Chetanagpur Plateau. Sadly, it's quite polluted. Then in Odisha, the Baitarani and Brahmani. The next major one is the Mahanadi, rises in Chhattisgarh, flows through Odisha, forms a big delta. The huge Hirakud Dam, India's longest dam, is built on it, sometimes called the Sorrow of Odisha for its past floods.
Mahanadi Hirakud Dam, got it, south of that.
Then comes the Godavari. This is a big one. Rises near Nashik in Maharashtra at Trimbakeshwar. It's the longest peninsular river, often called the Dakshin Ganga, Ganga of the South, due to its size. Forms a massive delta.
Godavari the longest. Any major tributaries?
Yes. The Pranahita, which itself is formed by other rivers like Warda, Penganga, Wainganga, is a huge tributary. Also the Indravati, which forms the Chitrakoot Falls of the Niagara of India.
Niagara of India, okay. And south of Godavari.
Next is the Krishna, the second longest peninsular river. Also rises in the Western Ghats, flows across the peninsula, forms another large delta near the Godavaris. Important tributaries include the Bhima and the Tungabhadra.
Krishna, second longest. And finally, the southernmost major one.
That would be the Kaveri, or Kaveri. Rises in the Brahmagiri Hills in Karnataka, flows through Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, forming a very fertile delta near Thanjavur, often called the Rice Bowl of South India.
Kaveri. Is it also called Ganga of the South sometimes?
Yes, it sometimes is, but for a different reason than the Godavari. The Kaveri is considered particularly sacred, and more importantly, gets water from both the main southwest monsoon and the retreating northeast monsoon later in the year.
Oh, 2 monsoons feed it.
Exactly. This gives it a more reliable, somewhat perennial flow compared to other peninsular rivers, making it exceptionally vital for irrigation, especially for rice. Leads to lots of water disputes too, unfortunately.
Right, water is precious.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered rivers extensively. What about other water bodies like lakes? And maybe touch on some famous waterfalls again. And then let's get down to the ground itself, the soils.
Sure. India has a huge variety of lakes.
Yeah.
Up north in Kashmir, Wulor Lake is India's largest freshwater lake, formed by the Jhelum River. Nearby is the beautiful Dal Lake in Srinagar.
Wulor and Dal, classics.
Way up in Ladakh, you have the stunning high-altitude Pangong Lake, partly in China. On the east coast, Chilika Lake in Odisha is the largest lagoon or coastal saltwater lake. Very important ecologically. Pulaket Lake on the Andhra-Tamil Nadu border is another large lagoon.
Lagoons on the coast. Inland.
In Rajasthan, Samvar Lake is famous for being India's most saline lake and a major source of salt. There's also Lonar Lake in Maharashtra, a unique crater lake formed by a meteorite impact. And down in Kerala, Vembanad Lake is India's longest lake, part of the backwater system.
Crater Lake, longest lake, lots of superlatives. And waterfalls, maybe a quick recap of the big ones.
Sure. We mentioned Jog Falls, or Gursapa Mahatma Gandhi Falls, in Karnataka on the Sharavathi River Spectacular Plunge. Dudhsagar Falls, Sea of Milk. In Goa on the Mandovi, really impressive tiered waterfall. Hundaru Falls in Jharkhand on the Swarnareka. And Chitrakoot Falls in Chhattisgarh on the Indravati, that wide horseshoe-shaped one called the Niagara of India.
Great. So from water to earth, soils. This seems fundamental, especially for agriculture. How are soils formed generally, and what are the main types across India based on our sources?
Absolutely fundamental. The study of soil is called pedology. Basically, soil forms incredibly slowly from the weathering of rocks, breaking them down physically and chemically mixed with organic matter.
Organic matter, like leaves and stuff.
Exactly. Dead plants, animals, microbes. They decompose to form humus, which is super important for fertility. This mix of weathered rock minerals and humus plus water, air, and living organisms creates soil. Over time, distinct layers called soil horizons develop, from the topsoil down to the bedrock.
Okay, horizons. So what are the main soil types the sources highlight for India?
The Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICASAR, classifies them, but the major ones popping up in our sources are 4 main types. First, and most widespread, is alluvial soil.
Alluvial from the rivers, right?
Precisely. deposited by the Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra systems in the northern plains, and also in coastal plains by other rivers. It's generally the most fertile type in India, rich in things like potash and lime, but often low in nitrogen and humus.
You mentioned Kedar and Bongar before.
Yes, those are the two main types of alluvial soil. Kedar, the new alluvium, found in active floodplains, replenished annually, very fertile. Bongar is the older alluvium, found on higher terraces away from the floods, generally less fertile, can have more clay content. Alluvial soils are great for wheat, rice, sugarcane, jute, the staples.
Okay, alluvial is number one. What's next?
Second major type is black soil, also called Regur soil, or simply cotton soil.
Ah, the cotton connection again. Where does this come from?
It forms from the weathering of that volcanic basalt rock, especially from the Deccan Trap lava flows. Its dark color is due to iron compounds. Its most famous property is high clay content, making it sticky when wet and developing deep cracks when dry. They call this self-plowing because the cracking helps aerate it.
Self-plowing. And location.
Primarily Maharashtra, Malwa Plateau, parts of Gujarat, Karnataka, Telangana. Excellent for cotton, hence the name, but also good for sugarcane, soybeans, wheat. Holds moisture really well.
Black soil. Got it. Third type.
Red and yellow soil. This forms from the weathering of older crystalline and metamorphic rocks, like granite and gneiss. It covers a huge area of peninsular India.
Why red and yellow?
The red color comes from iron oxides when the soil is well drained. When it gets hydrated, the iron compounds change, giving it a yellowish look. It's generally less fertile than alluvial or black soils, often deficient in nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. Found widely in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand.
What grows well there?
Often used for crops that don't need super fertile soil, coarse grains like millet, bajra, raji, pulses, tobacco, some fruits. With irrigation and fertilizers, productivity can be improved.
Okay. And the fourth major type?
That's laterite soil. The name comes from the Latin word for brick because it hardens when exposed to air and is used for construction.
Laterite for bricks. How does it form?
It forms in areas with high temperatures and heavy seasonal rainfall. Its intense rain leads to leaching water, washes away silica and other soluble minerals, leaving behind iron and aluminum oxides.
Leaching. So it's not very fertile.
Generally, no. The nutrients get washed out. It's often acidic, but it's found in patches on uplands in the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Northeast India, like Meghalaya, parts of West Bengal. While not great for food crops, it's well suited for plantation crops.
Plantation crops. Like what?
Tea, coffee, rubber, cashews. These often thrive on laterite soils, especially on hill slopes.
Interesting. So alluvial, black, red, yellow, and laterite cover the main bases.
Those are the big four highlighted in the sources, yeah. There are others like desert soil, mountain soil, peaty soil, but these four cover the largest areas and have the most impact.
Well, what an absolutely incredible journey. We've really covered some ground, haven't we? From the collision that birthed the Himalayas, down through those vast fertile plains, across the ancient plateaus, along the contrasting coastlines, out to the islands, and right down into the rivers and soils that define life in India. It's just a staggering diversity.
It truly is. And understanding these fundamentals, this physical geography, it's not just about maps and rocks. It really does make you think, doesn't it? It raises that important question. How does this deep, complex physical landscape continue to shape everything else? India's culture, its economy, its agriculture, even its politics and its place in the world today.
Absolutely. A profound thought to end on. And to you, our listener, thanks for bringing us these fantastic sources. It's been a real pleasure taking this deep dive together. Keep that curiosity going and maybe think about how these mountains, rivers, and plains you've heard about today are still shaping lives and communities across India right now.